and running.
Good evening, everybody. This is the March 15th meeting of the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. We are at the Guilford Community Center, 32 Center Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut. Thank you all for appearing tonight, and for the benefit of those who may not have participated in the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, I will review our public hearing procedure, which is as follows. First, we will read, as soon as I finish this, we'll read the legal notice of the meeting so that it's on the record. And then after that, we will call up applicants in the order that they're on the agenda. And we're going to ask them to come forward and to introduce themselves so that it's on the record and make your presentation at the microphone. When that's done, commissioners will have a chance to ask the applicant question. And then following that, we invite members of the audience to ask questions of the applicant. And when we're finished with that, we will then ask people in the audience to either who wish to speak in favor of the application to do so, and those against also to speak if they want to. At the conclusion of all the statements for each application, we will close the public hearing on the application, and the applicant and the public then are free to leave or remain for the balance of our public hearings and the regular meeting, at which time the commission will discuss each application under consideration and try to reach a decision. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of the commission. The applicant and/or any agreed party with legal standing will have the right to appeal this decision to Superior Court within the statutory time frame if they so choose, if they so desire. All decisions reached at this meeting will be available to the public the next day by visiting or calling the Planning and Zoning Office at 203-453-8039 after 9:30 a.m. Seated this evening, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. George is out tonight, Alan's on tonight. So everybody but George will be seated. And next to me is, what's that?
Voting.
Voting.
Yeah.
You can certainly speak, but you want.
Thank you.
So next to me is Alan Brown here, George Underhill, Rich Wallace, Tom Cost, Ray Bauer's not here, Rich Meyer, Frank DeAndrea, Phil Johnson's not here, Josh Hirschman, and Walt Corbiere. Okay, please read the legal notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on March 15, 2017 at 7:30 p.m. at the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, in the Mononkatuk Room on the second floor for the following purposes. Leaf Cylinder, 207 Fitch Hill Road, map 113, lot 20-4, zone R8, special permit application for accessory structure over 750 square feet, 1,200 square foot utility building, section 273-94. First public hearing to be continued to April 5th for a mandatory second public hearing. Peter Sorrentino, America Real Estate, U-Haul, 301 Boston Post Road, map 49, lots 30 and 31, Zone TS, special permit and site plan for motor vehicle rental and self-storage facilities, section 273-79 and 273-97. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the office of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communications will be received. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 22nd day of February 2017. Tom Cost, Chairman.
Thank you. George, just for the record, is it my understanding that MAC Management and the show cause hearing, we're being asked to extend that?
I believe so, yes.
So could we?
In fact, Mrs. Shansky can probably address that if she wants to.
I just want to move it along, so if you both are in agreement on that, do you have anything that you would want to say? Okay, so we'll adjourn this till the next meeting?
Actually, I would say something about that, if I might.
Okay.
Attorney Marjorie Shansky for MAC Management. Yes, we'd like to come back on the map amendment at the very next meeting. standing behind the map amendment is a special permit application, which under your regulations takes 2 hearings. So I think it would be appropriate to really push the show cause hearing out so that it doesn't burden your agenda before it's time. So I would suggest that we come back on April 5th to complete the map amendment and then put the show cause perhaps in May. Thank you.
Attorney Matt Urbano for Carl Moritz. Yes, we're in agreement with that. We've made almost completed settlement terms, and we're wrapping those up at this point in time. So that schedule makes perfect sense. We hope to be back here on April 5th with a tight and finalized settlement agreement. And so perhaps it'll even, end up not necessitating the show cause down the road. But April 5th should be our target date to come back before the commission.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have to just vote on that? Yeah. So could we, I have a motion to
Make
this.
a motion that we extend the time on that.
Second.
All in favor to April?
Let's put a date in the motion.
You're doing first meeting in April for the
Right.
hearing, and then first meeting in May for the show cause.
Right.
See how that goes.
Okay, everybody all set with that?
Just to need be down the road.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, you're good? Share it. Thanks, folks. Okay, the next up is Shabbat Lubovich of the Shoreline Inc. This is the second hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Marjorie Shansky for the applicant Chabad Lubovich of the Shoreline. I'm here this evening with Michael Harkin and with Rabbi Yaffe, who's in the back of the room. This is our second hearing. There were just a couple of questions that were tendered by the commission during the last meeting, and I think I'll defer to Mr. Harkin and then come back and greet you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Michael Harkin. I'm a professional engineer and principal of Harkin Engineering, located at 78 Wolf Hollow Lane in the town of Killingworth, Connecticut. Again, here tonight on behalf of my client for the Chabad of the Shoreline, to be located at 2710 Boston Post Road in your town of Guilford, Connecticut. I'm not going to go into the project details like the last meeting. We went pretty much in depth. I'll just go over some of the revisions that we did to the plans. Specifically, the environmental analyst had asked us to put a note on the plan to mark out the 100-foot upland review area adjacent to any of the construction. We did put that on the plan as a note. Second of all, we were asked to put a area of silt fence, additional area of silt fence in, which we have done. The town engineer had a couple comments. The first was to put some guide rail or some boulders adjacent to the little depression that we were having for the infiltration basin. And the second is to note on the plans that the driveway is to be at a 12% max grade, which we have done. The commission came back to us with 2 questions at the last meeting. The first was, how far is the closest house, closest residence to our proposed location, which is in yellow? The closest residence is the Parmalees, which are located off Moose Hill Road. They're about 320 feet. The nearest closest residence is about 420 feet. Again, that's on Moose Hill Road. So the second question was in regards to the driveway and the access for the fire department. After the last meeting, I contacted the Assistant Chief of Operations, who's Mr. Mike Shove. We set up a meeting and we went out there to look at the access. I have a letter from him, which I'll submit to the record. It is dated March 10th. We also have one, you can read that in. We have an attached picture with that too. You guys will have the
This
letter.
is from Michael Shove, the Assistant Chief. Dear Mr. Harkin, it was a pleasure to meet with you yesterday after reviewing your plans for the property at 2710 Boston Post Road in Guilford, Connecticut. We had no issue with the current driveway and the proposed changes. The proposed changes would allow the fire department better access to the structure, and improve our capabilities in the event of an emergency. If you need any more information or further assistance, please feel free to contact me.
So with the letter that we submitted, there's a picture in there. We kind of did one better. Mr. Schultz bought the biggest apparatus in the town of Guilford, which was the ladder truck, and we drove it right to the front door. We moved it around, we drove it back, and we were able to bypass it. So we definitely have fire access, and we're actually bettering the situation because we're putting that area down and back for parking, that they can now almost fight the house if it was, God forbid, on fire 360.
Are those photos in the record?
They are in the record I just gave. And I think that's it with our presentation. I think we've addressed everything. I'd like to turn it over to Marjorie Shamsky to finish it up. Thank you.
Thank you. The architect, Duo Dickinson, also brought to Town Hall today a couple of copies. I have a reduced copy. There had been some question, I don't know if it was your question, but it just simply has notes showing the fire rating for the fire separations for the use upstairs of the residence and downstairs for the little hall of worship. So you may. You are welcome to those. But there is a full-scale plan in the file.
Okay.
So at the first meeting, we went through the special permit criteria on the application, on both the special permit application and on the site plan application. I had appended a narrative describing the specific uses to which the Chabad will put the little house of worship to use, as well as a walk through your special permit criteria. I also entered into the record a letter from a real estate appraiser, Eric Glidden, with 35 years of Connecticut shoreline experience appraising property, who indicated there was no adverse property value impact associated with this use. Mr. Chairman, it would be our position that we have satisfied the special permit criteria, and unless the Commission has specific questions, at the appropriate time this evening, we would urge the approval of both of these applications, and we thank you for your time.
Questions, folks?
I'm good.
I have some.
Go ahead, Alan.
Okay, do you want to, on that map, the guy sitting down over there?
Mike,
Mike Harkin. Mike Harkin.
get over
Mike
there.
Harkin? Could you show the map of the driveway again, please?
Would you like to see it from the Boston Post Road, or would you like to see it from in front of the house?
From the Boston Post Road going up. Okay? It's 800 feet going up?
Approximately.
It's a little over 800. What are you going to do about this driveway now? Is it going to be 15 feet wide according to you?
It's going to remain in its current state of the width. I think the narrowest point was 15 feet. The widest point was 18.
What it is right now?
What it is right now.
I don't see 15 feet there. I went over there and measured it. It's 10 feet.
All the way up, sir?
Most of the way, 90% of the way. It's 9 feet. You're not going to blacktop that, correct?
No, we're not. It's going to be gravel.
You're going to put stone in there?
We're not touching the driveway. It's going to stay in its current state.
Okay. How wide is, we're saying that right now we're going to leave it the way it is. The worst case scenario, if we had a fire there, we have a 9-foot driveway, which you say is bigger than 9 feet. It's mud. It's mud and potholes. All right. Number two, a fire truck that you're talking about right here that went up there is 45 feet long. It is 8 foot 10 inches wide, 9 feet wide. A car coming down that driveway, if there was a fire, would be 6 to 7 feet wide. 6 and 9 is 15 feet. Who's on the road? How would they get by each other? And when they have a fire, people are going to want to leave. I don't see any way that that's a safe situation. And then second of all, how do we get water to the house? The equipment to bring the water up is across the street from the road. That means you're gonna walk across the street from the road, 800 feet up, plus you gotta have at least 200 feet to get around to put the fire out. So that means you gotta have 1,100 feet of hose going up there. If not, and I'm no fireman, let me make this clear, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a fireman, I'm just using common sense with what I saw there. So we don't have water there. I don't know if they have 1,100 feet. That's one question I didn't ask.
Trucks carry a lot more than that. I personally have laid lines longer than that, years
All right,
ago.
If they don't,
They have a 3,500 gallon tanker in
let me
downtown.
finish. Let me
And a
finish.
3,500 gallon tanker in North Guilford. It's 7,000 gallons of water. And they have a pool that they can drop down, and they can pump from the street, and they can drop 10,000 gallons at a time into a tank by Route 1.
All right, can I finish now?
Yeah,
The tanker weighs, fully loaded with 3,500 gallons is what it takes.
right.
The tank truck is gonna weigh 68,000 pounds going up
Correct.
that hill on a dirt road with cars coming down. Okay?
Yep.
I don't see that being a safe situation. Now, I'm not trying to buck the fire department, but I think that I would love to see Charlie go up and look at it. He's the nuts and bolts, he's the fire chief. I think he should have a look at that and see what he thinks. That's what I'm bringing up. Like I said, I'm not an engineer. I'm worried about the safety feature. That road is not wide enough to handle two cars, one coming and one going. And people are gonna wanna leave if there's a fire, obviously. All right, so that's all I wanted to say about that.
Mr. Brown, your concern is perplexing in several respects. First, this is a structure that's had a certificate of occupancy from the town of Guilford since 2008. This is not new construction. We are not planting this structure. This structure exists. So the former owner, who may have had birthday parties, graduation parties, may have celebrated a wedding, may have had many more people than are implicated in this proposal at that site, does not explain or underpin the concern that you're expressing in a way that makes it possible for us to respond to it meaningfully. The fire department, and I spoke with the fire chief several months ago when we first embarked on this. He directed me to one of the fire marshals, and now we have the chief of operations who has brought a fire truck to the site, who has written a letter on which the fire chief is copied, endorsing that the site is now better, more accessible than it was previously. You're describing a situation that is a kind of selective problem that I'm not sure exists, because God forbid there was an event that called for the arrival of a fire truck. And we're talking small numbers of people. Look at the application. These are not large numbers of people. And it is an 8-acre parcel of land where people could take refuge, depending on the season, either simply on the site, remote from the house, or in their automobiles, and wait for the fire truck to arrive and then depart. So it's a problem that I would respectfully suggest does not exist, and it's a situation that makes me inclined to invoke the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act, which specifically decries particularized application of standards to a religious use that would not otherwise be applied to a specially permitted use or to an occupancy of the scale that's described in this application if simply associated with a single-family house. We have the endorsement of the fire department.
It's fine. I didn't say you didn't have it. What I'm saying is, I'm questioning whether or not if anyone really looked into the fact that a 9-foot road is not wide enough for people, let me finish before you come up here. A 9-foot road is not wide enough for that. And as far as people that lived in the house, yes, they had parties, but they didn't have, you got a parking lot up on top to the right when you get up on top of the hill. You got parking down in front of the house. You got parking down the 14% grade. You got parking behind the house. You're taking out the soil behind it and putting in, I believe it's crushed stone, so you have more parking. That doesn't sound like a happy family meeting. It sounds like we're going to have more people. I'm not saying you are, I'm not saying you aren't. But I'm saying I'm looking out for the people that are going to go there. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and if the fire department says I'm wrong, I'm willing to buy that. But don't start telling me about somebody having a party. It's the same thing as you having meetings up there. You don't know how many people are going to be there. So don't tell me you know there's going to be only 3 people going up there.
It's a 12% grade, and we
It is
have a letter from
It
the...
is a 14, they're supposed to put it to 12, yes.
And it will be a 12% grade. And we have the approval of the fire department.
I already heard that 3 times.
Can I just ask about the 9 to 15, the 9-foot versus the 15-foot width that Alan mentioned? It looks like from the fire truck that it's currently wider than 9 feet. Is that correct? Is it currently wider than
It's
9 feet?
My personal opinion, as well as the engineered surveyed plans that was done by a licensed land surveyor, show it greater than 9 feet
Currently.
currently.
And obviously the fire truck made it up there.
And
So-
that's the gravel portion. There's 5 feet of grass on either side
Right.
for turnoffs and pull-offs.
Right, so, and under the plan, it remains more or less unchanged and the grade gets reduced to 12% from 14? Or does it actually, how much does it widen?
Right, the 12 and 14% was in this vicinity that we're paving.
Yeah,
Okay, and it's to just get around towards the back section where we're gonna put some process aggregate and, some stone so we can drive back there, make it a solid surface. This area in here, we can get down to a 12%. We were trying to leave the natural grade that's out there at a 14% and not make this huge giant mess. So we were asked to reduce it. We can reduce it. We put a note on the plan that we would reduce it to satisfy the engineer's requirements. It's important to note that before this plan even, came to fruition, we had multiple meetings with town staff. We sat there, and one of Kevin McGee's comments was, hey, let's look at the driveway. Is the driveway wide enough? We went to the town engineer, and the town engineer even said the driveway was wide enough. And I totally understand your concerns. It's not a concern about the residents. It's a concern about if there's an emergency to get people in and out. But, my professional opinion is there is enough room to navigate. That fire truck was there. I was able to drive on the grass and drive around it and get out of there.
it's also the opinion of Assistant Chief Shove.
That is correct. That we are actually bettering the situation by putting this driveway down and allowing better access if there was an emergency there. Something that people aren't realizing too is we're putting a big turnaround. So even if that fire truck was parked right there, there's still an avenue to get around it besides being able to drive on either side of it.
Anybody else? Anybody in the audience have any questions? Anybody would like to speak in favor of this? Anybody would like to speak against it? Someone move that we close this portion of the public.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next up is Leaf Solander, 207 Fitchell Road, map 13, lot 20-4. Oh, I missed Greg White. I'm sorry, I missed Greg. I've got one ahead of you. Greg J. Wright, 67 Half Mile Road, map 80, lot 115, zone R5. Special permit accessory apartment over 750 feet. This is the second public hearing.
Good evening, Eric Anderson, Anderson Engineering and Surveying Associates here in Guilford. As was stated, this is the second public hearing for Gregory J. Wright for his request for an accessory apartment at his home at 67 Half Mile Road. This is in the existing garage with approved guest property above it that they want to turn into a accessory apartment for Mr. Wright's father-in-law. Now, we were here at the last hearing. I went through all of the requirements. We have a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals for the increase in the square footage. I submitted the copy from the assessor's office that reflects that the garage was built more than 10 years ago. I also submitted a photograph showing the house and the garage so that you can see that the building we want to put this in is in conformance with the house. It's the same, basic same architecture. I'll pass that around again so you can refresh your memory on it. We also had a letter from Dennis Johnson stating that the septic system that is there in this location is adequate. We have plenty of parking areas. We have two car spaces in the garage, 2 spaces in front of it, 2 spaces in the house garage, a couple of spaces in front of that, several other spaces, and a wraparound garage, a wraparound driveway where there could be parking. Before the last hearing, we notified all of the adjoining owners that we were supposed to notify, place a sign out front as was required. You also have in your file the affidavit signed by Mrs. Wright that states that they understand that someone has to live in one of the, a homeowner has to live in one of the places, and also that there's adequate parking. So I believe that we have satisfied all the requirements for an accessory apartment, and we ask for your approval of this site for an accessory apartment.
Thank you. Questions? No further questions?
I'm good.
Questions from the audience? Anybody here want to speak in favor or is opposed to this? Okay, someone move that we close this.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll get on to Leaf. And Leaf is at 307 Fitchell Road. 207 Fitchell Road, map 113, lot 4, 20.4, zone R8. Special permit application for accessory structure over 750 feet, 1,200 square foot utility building. This is the first of 2 hearings. It will be continued until April 5th. Thank you, sir.
I currently have 4 acres of property.
Just come up to the mic so that. Come
I'm
up
sorry.
closer.
And my name is Leif Sealander. I live on 207 Fitchhill Road, North Guilford, Connecticut. And I would like to build a garage, a 30 by 40 foot garage. And I satisfy the requirements as far as from the neighbor's borders. sent out the letters, the certified letters. I have a tractor that I use to help with my property. I do a lot of landscaping. I've been improving the property. I also, between myself and my other neighbor, we kind of maintain the shared road. It's like a 0.2 of a mile road. It's a gravel road. So I use it for filling in the potholes and regrading it. So I would like to have this garage so I can store this machinery. And this is just the outside of it. And you can't see too much in there. Would you guys like plot maps or something?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a letter from Dennis Johnson, the Director of Health, pertaining to this property, dated March 15, 2017. The applicant's proposed utility building will not conflict with the location or operation of the septic system currently existing on site. It is recommended that the applicant's proposed special permit be approved.
Did you get a copy of that letter?
No, I
Would you
did not.
like this one?
Sure.
You have Mike.
Thank you.
Is that it on?
That was it. That's the entire letter.
Did you have a site map that you could just show us?
I have,
So you can show the
it's a
boundaries?
plot map from the town, and I kind of laid out where the garage is going to be. And he brought a couple copies with me. I just have 3 copies.
So the red rectangle is where the property, the building's going to be, right here?
Yes. It's going to be rotated a little bit, but
So
it's
you,
right at the end of the driveway.
okay, and you have enough, you have a slope there to put the thing on. Yep.
Piece of property, you
4.02 acres.
4 acres.
Mr. Chairman, if it's in order, I'd like to move to waive the requirement for a site plan for this application. If I have a second.
Second.
Anybody opposed to that?
This is really nothing.
All right. So we'll, everybody in favor of waiving the site plan? Okay, we're good there.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Oh, you could keep that if you want.
Does anybody here have any questions?
Frankly, it's in the middle of this property. There's really no impact to anybody
Yeah.
at all.
The closest is my neighbor over here.
Yeah.
And
205.
Yep.
Okay, well, we
He
do
probably
have,
wants you to have
we
it.
do have a second meeting on this, so,
Yep. I've got nothing. I'm fine.
okay.
To continue it then?
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Does anybody in the public want to say anything about this? Ask a question? Okay, we'll continue it until April 5th then.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Third. Fourth. Aye. There you go. All right.
Okay, we're down to Peter C. Ortino, if I pronounced that correctly. Amerco Real Estate Company, U-Haul, 301 Boston Post Road, map 49, lots 30 and 31, zone TS3, special permit and site plan for motor vehicle rental and self-storage facility. First public hearing, and this will be continued till April 5th for a second public hearing, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. My name is Bernard Pellegrino. I'm an attorney with the Pellegrino Law Firm in New Haven, and I represent the applicant, Peter Shortino, who is here with me this evening. Also with me is Dave Gagnon from Langen Engineering, who is the civil engineer in regard to the project, and you'll hear from him in a minute. The property is located at 301 Boston Post Road, which is shown on the site plan. It also includes the adjoining lot, which is presently a vacant lot. So collectively, together, that is the property. Sure. Am I better here? Better for you guys?
As long as I can cap on the TV.
Or I can go over here, maybe. That might be better. Better?
Yeah.
So collectively, those two lots is the project site. The properties would be merged, obviously, into one parcel if approved by the board. Site's located in the TS zoning district, and it's approximately 4.5 acres, currently improved with the existing 17,000 square foot building. It's the Mannix Motors site, which I'm sure you all are familiar with. Was operated as a car dealership for many years, going back to the 60s. Property does have a small amount of wetlands in the upper corner, the northeastern section of the site. Application was submitted to the Inland Wetlands Commission and was approved last month by the Wetlands Commission. It's a corner lot, as you can see. Boston Post Road is here, and Tanner Marsh Road is there. Presently, there's 3 curb cuts on Boston Post Road and 2 existing curb cuts on Tanner Marsh Road. The proposal, the project that the applicant has brought forward is that it's seeking to redevelop the site as a U-Haul self-storage and truck rental facility with associated retail sales for both. Both uses are permitted in the zone by special permit and site plan approval. The existing building would be renovated for office space, and the retail component would be in that building, along with 122 self-storage units. Also proposed is the construction of a new building located on the eastern portion of the site, and that building would be used for 460 storage units. Curb cuts would be reduced from 3 to 2 on Boston Post Road and from 2 to 1 on Tanner Marsh Road. So there would be 3 curb cuts for the site. We believe that the project is worthy of your approval under both the site plan and special permit criteria. We work with the Design Review Board to bring forward a project that has taken into account their input. I think you'll find when Dave presents the elevations of the buildings that they're well appointed, and they've been reviewed by the Design Review Board. The site will result in a substantial increase in landscaping throughout the site, especially along both of the street frontages. Project has been preliminarily reviewed by the DOT. They produced a comment letter with some minor suggestions, but I call it a favorable letter. The DOT.
We do have that letter.
Have that letter.
I'm going to read it into the record, if you don't mind. All right. It was dated March 1st, and it says that this office has reviewed your plan for the aforementioned subject dated February 1st, 2017, and submits the following comments. Items to be submitted. First, the state has a 10 by 220-foot drainage easement at the eastern portion of the site. Show and label the easement on plans and redesign the proposed system outside the easement. 2, show and demonstrate with a turning template and SU-30 vehicle marking right in and right out movements. Adjust the driveway geometry accordingly if required. 3, label the double yellow center line on all driveways. 4, show and label with a legend all existing state signs along Route 1 to include a note stating they shall remain in place. 5, show driveway sight lines. 6, remove the landscape strip at the edge of the road near the intersection of Tanner Marsh Road and add concrete to maintain a 5-foot concrete sidewalk and bus stop. 7, show all new curbing along the entire Route 1 frontage. 8, The note on the plan to maintain a 3-foot minimum clearance from the edge of the sidewalk to obstructions must be adhered to. If you cannot meet the minimum standard, provide an easement to the state for any portion of the sidewalk that will be outside of the state right-of-way. If you have any questions concerning this matter, please contact Ronald Ferris, District 3 Service Agent, 203-389-3018. Very truly yours, Peter Holmes. Paul Holmes, I'm sorry. And did you also, there's a letter in the record now from Kevin McGee, the environmental planner. Did you happen to get that? It's dated today, so that seems to be a reoccurring theme here. So why don't I read this in and then you can take this. So the applicant has completed the checklist to guide low-impact development best management practices and is utilizing some of the recommended practices. The proposed plans show the development begin construction on the portion of the property that formerly contained an asphalt pile. The stormwater system has been developed utilizing a low-impact design principle. The stormwater management system consists of overland runoff to catch basins and roof leaders that discharge into a 2-chamber detention basin designed to treat the first inch of rainfall. The stormwater system is also designed to attend off-site discharge at approximately existing levels. The plan for the project has sedimentation and erosion control procedures that are in compliance with 273-97B, subsection 6 of the zoning regulations. The Guilford Inland Wetlands Commission, at its March 8, 2017 meeting, approved a regulated activity with conditions for construction of an infiltration basin, discharge of stormwater, and site grading with 100-foot jurisdictional review zone. In addition, the commission referred favorably the site plan application to the Planning and Zoning Commission. In order to make sure the wetlands are protected, I recommend the following conditions of approval. First, the town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site construction. Second, to assure future compliance of the stormwater management system in accordance with section 273-75F of the zoning code. Upon approval of the site plan application, but prior to commencement of any work, the applicant shall execute an agreement and file a bond with the Planning and Zoning Commission to guarantee completion and maintenance of the work required by the approved stormwater management plan. B, a written maintenance and operation manual for stormwater management systems located at the subject site. The manual should provide provisions for yearly inspection, maintenance of the stormwater system, and yearly reports to the town engineer and zoning enforcement officer. The maintenance schedule should include but not be limited to weekly, monthly, and quarterly inspections of the property for litter, monitoring of the dumpster and outside storage areas, monitoring of the catch basins, the removal of accumulated material and non-native invasive species in the swales, and stormwater detention systems. The maintenance plan needs to provide a statement that the stormwater management plan will be reviewed annually so that inspection maintenance requirements may be modified, and that any changes to the plan would require the approval of the town engineer. C, an as-built drawing of the completed stormwater systems prepared in accordance with section 273-75F, stormwater management subsection 6 construction. And D, the applicant shall file and maintain a maintenance covenant on the land records as required by section 273-75F, stormwater management subsection 7, maintenance covenants of the town of Guilford zoning code. So, pretty standard. But what is the bond amount, or will that be determined? Do you have any issues with any of those requirements?
I don't think so, no. I'll ask Dave to comment, but they don't sound problematic. They sound pretty standard. Thank you. Just a couple other things to mention, and I pulled out the elevations so you can take a look at them. Again, Dave will touch on those again. Another thing is we're proposing a new sidewalk along the Boston Post Road frontage to help with pedestrian access there and to other sites. We conducted a trip generation analysis for the proposed uses. Both uses are low traffic generators. In fact, the total estimated trip generation is below your requirements for a full traffic report analysis. Our client is obviously an experienced operator of truck rentals and self-storage facilities. They're very comfortable with the internal flow of the site and feel comfortable that they'll be able to adequately manage the internal traffic flow and parking areas. And finally, the plan meets your bulk standards and, as I've mentioned, hits on a number of the special permit criteria. It also includes the reduction in the number of non-conforming parking spaces within the 50-foot front yard requirement. So for all of those reasons, we would look forward ultimately, and I know we'll be back, to positive action on this application. And unless you have any questions for me, I'd turn it over to Dave.
I do have a question. That is, normally there's some kind of a letter from the design review committee. I don't see anything in the packet on that. Am I correct that there's not one?
Yes. This application's been reviewed extensively by the Design Review Committee. I think there've been probably at least four meetings, maybe 5, where substantial modifications in the plan were made in response to the Design Review Committee's comments. I think the applicant worked very well with the Design Review Committee in modifying the building architecture, coloration, other things that the Design Review Committee was concerned about. Came up with a pretty good site plan with landscaping and display of vehicles. The Design Review Committee, and you'll I think hear more about the second of these questions. There were 2 questions that were sort of outstanding at the last time the Design Review Committee met with regard to this application. One was whether or not it would be possible to move, and this will be a little bit more clear after the engineer makes his presentation, I'm sure, to move the new building, the self-storage building, further away from the road. The Design Review Committee suggested that it would be a more desirable plan if the big building, the self-storage building, were moved further back toward I-95. That would require a variance from the zoning code because in this particular zone there is a maximum setback. One of the questions with regard to whether it would be feasible or desirable to move that building further back related to the ultimate design of the septic system and the stormwater management system and the position of the Inland Wetlands Commission with regard to whether they felt that moving all of that activity closer to the wetlands was a good idea. So the Design Review Committee didn't make a final recommendation until that issue was resolved, which it was resolved by action of the Wetlands Commission 2 weeks ago or whenever it was when they approved the current plan. It's still conceivable that the applicant, should they choose to, could request a variance of the zoning code to relocate the building further away, and then they'd have to get a revised wetlands application, which would bring the building closer to the wetlands. Whether wetlands would approve that or not, of course, is an unknown. So with respect to that issue, the Design Review Committee didn't make a final decision until they heard from the Wetlands Commission, which happened just 2 weeks ago. The second question that the Design Review Committee left somewhat open and didn't make a final recommendation had to do with the issue of whether or not vehicles for rent or sale could be displayed within a 50-foot setback requirement from the front property line. The current zone, which allows automotive and truck sale and rental, has a requirement that no vehicles to be displayed can be displayed any closer than 50 feet in the front property line. That question is really a legal question and has to do with what rights does the property owner have, non-conforming rights, by virtue of the fact that they have displayed motor vehicles close to the road for sale and also for rent for many years within that 50-foot setback. And the question before the Design Review Committee was, if they weren't going to be allowed to display vehicles within the 50-foot setback, then the site plan was going to probably change significantly from what was actually presented and what the applicant wanted to accomplish. With that question somewhat still unresolved, the Design Review Committee and the applicant came up with a compromise plan, which I think everyone felt was a desirable plan. The Design Review Committee and the applicant, I believe, also feels it's a desirable plan to limit the display of motor vehicles for rental, the truck, U-Haul trucks and I guess trucks, to, I've forgotten whether it's 7 or 9 vehicles to be displayed in the front of the property, which would be within that 50-foot setback. The applicant felt, and the property owner felt, that they had the right to display vehicles within that 50-foot setback because they've always displayed them in such a manner. They made no attempt or effort to abandon their non-conforming rights, and therefore they had the right to display vehicles within the 50-foot setback. The Design Review Committee didn't make a final determination pending the resolution of that question, which is still, which may still be unresolved, depends on really your action. And just one other comment on that. The Design Review Committee wanted me to seek the applicant's legal opinion on that subject, and I think Mr. Pellegrino's more than willing to express his views on that. They also wanted me to check with our counsel, Chuck Andrus, on that question, which I have done, and Reggie and I both had a conference call with him actually Monday of this week, where we spoke with him and agreed that there has been no time since the closure of Mannix as an operating business when motor vehicles have not been displayed for rent or sale within that 50-foot setback. Notwithstanding the fact that there's an approved site plan for another intervening use, the so-called grass market, you may recall. The Commission approved the site plan for that use, which also included the display of U-Haul vehicles, which was still kind of an ongoing, although much lower intensity activity than currently, and as proposed. There were continuously the display of motor vehicles for rent, and we felt that the applicant satisfied to the best of our ability to determine, that is to say Chuck and Reggie and I, that they have the right to do that. Now, we may hear some other argument to that point. Some of you probably read the letter from the Milanos, who've made some arguments on that, on behalf of the opposite view. And should you desire a more formal review of this by Chuck Andrus, we can arrange for that formal review. That's really your call. You'll probably hear more discussion on this whole topic throughout the rest of this hearing. But that's a long-winded explanation as to why the design review didn't come to a final conclusion yet, because of those two issues that were still unresolved that might have resulted in either a minor or significant change in the site plan. Does that answer your question? No? Okay.
The question was, why don't we have a letter?
Because they haven't made a final determination because of these two unresolved site plan issues that were outstanding at the...
So I don't understand what the zoning issue has to do with design review.
Well, if the commission determines that that they cannot display vehicles within that 50-foot setback area, which is ultimately going to be your decision, then they'll either withdraw their application altogether or they'll revise the site plan to remove the 7 vehicles that are displayed in the new site plan. Now that was a really important part of the whole design review committee's deliberations. How many vehicles are we going to allow to be displayed prominently on the site? And that, if they can't display any, then that changes the plan significantly. And so the design review didn't come to a final conclusion because they weren't certain of the outcome of that. And we also knew that we weren't, given the town's procedures for getting town council review of these matters, we really needed to get into the process in a formal way by actually having an application, having the applicant's attorney state his views on this subject, and then Chuck Andrus can review them should they should you want him to do that.
So George, two things. Number one, by nature of the fact that they had a couple of trucks or a few trucks during the Grass Island period, that entitles them to full consideration for as many trucks as they want now. And we're referring to trucks as a single item. So is their vehicle request considering that a van that says rent from U-Haul $1 a day on the side, the same as a 28-foot box truck, which also has the same kind of advertising medium on the side of it?
I'm not sure I understand the second part of your question. The
In other
issue,
words, is it different? They're just saying 9 vehicles or 7 vehicles, whatever the magic number is. Vehicle can mean a van or a box truck, whatever they decide.
right, it can.
Okay.
And another question that the Design Review Committee asked about, which we did state unequivocally, is that they don't have any jurisdiction over, and that's advertising on the vehicles. Clearly, U-Haul vehicles prominently display the U-Haul logo on them, and that is advertising, but that's not subject to the planning and zoning sign regulation jurisdiction.
Right,
If that was,
but if we're allowing trucks on display, we're allowing advertising on Boston Post Road, basically.
well, that's not, I don't know, I guess it depends on what you mean by advertising, but the signs that are on the trucks are not signs under our regulations.
Right, they're not, but what I'm saying is if we decide as a group to say, all right, yeah, put 9 trucks out there,
Right.
we're saying yes to what really boils down to advertising on 8-foot by 20-foot.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, as long as I understand.
I don't know if that is clear. I kind of a
Oh,
long-winded
it's a good
explanation, but, yeah.
Where were we? We're still in the presentation here, right?
Yes, I was
I
going to
just, just one other question for my clarification. This letter that came from Mr. Luke Morrow, do you have a copy of that letter? That talks about
that was
the state stuff?
Yes.
Okay, and you have a copy of it?
Yes. we-
Okay, I'm done.
And with the state letter, I have one question for you, Tom. That was my voice, and I apologize. But their 200-foot setback, or whatever they're calling their 200-foot bite into your property, when you got wetlands approval, that took that into account. You're not in their 200-foot area with your wetlands retention pond, right?
I don't think so, but I'll let Dave handle that.
Okay.
Sure.
You said there'll be storage units in both the existing building and the new building.
Correct. Yep. And just to follow up, I did provide a formal written opinion on the non-conforming issue. I don't know if you got that. If you didn't, I want to make sure that you have it. I did provide a formal opinion, and I filed that letter with the application.
We should see that, George.
Can we all get a copy of that?
Okay, you want to go ahead with the engineer?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Corbier just requested that we email a copy of that letter to you after tonight, so you'll have it for the next meeting. Mr. Pellegrino's letter.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Gagnon. I work with Langen Engineering. I'm a professional engineer registered in the state of Connecticut, and I'm here representing the applicant, U-Haul. Just to give you a brief kind of overview, we've been on the site a few times about the engineering perspective of the site. 301 Boston Post Road. To the north, we have the state right-of-way. I-95 to the west, we have the town right-of-way. Tanner Marsh Road. To the south of the site, we have another state right-of-way, that's Boston Post Road, or Route 1. And to the east, we have a commercial property. As we said, to the west of the property, existing structure being renovated and repurposed for a U-Haul rental facility, and there will also be self-storage in the back of the building. To the east of the site, we have the proposed self-storage unit right here. As Mr. Pellegrino mentioned, we are reducing the amount of curb cuts on the site. Right now, there's currently 3 curb cuts on Boston Post Road. There's one approximately here, there's another one here and here, and we're maintaining those general locations of the 2 existing curb cuts while reducing this one. On Tanner Marsh Road, there is 2 curb cuts. There's one generally in this proximity, and there's another one over here. We are eliminating the one that's closer to the intersection, and we're moving it further away to the north to help with site access and kind of traffic maneuverability through the site. From an operational standpoint of the site, generally the return vehicles will be kind of queued up over here. U-Haul will look at the vehicles, clean them out, bring them around the back of the site over to here. They'll be picked up by the customers, and they'll leave most likely through Tanner Marsh Road down to Boston Post Road. From an engineering perspective, stormwater management, currently there's really no stormwater practices at all on site. Generally, the grades on the site are highest in the south, kind of the southwest of the corner over here. Everything flows overland to the wetlands in the northeast corner of the site. You can see there's about 1,500 square feet of wetlands in the northeast corner of the site. It might be difficult for you to see on this board, but the upland, the 100-foot upland review buffer is right here. We are not proposing any impervious structures within that buffer. We're probably at least 20 feet with our these are two fire access drive aisles from the upland review area. We are proposing our infiltration system in the upland review area. This has been reviewed with the town staff and the Wetlands Commission. The intent of this infiltration basin is really to pick up all the overland flow on site. It's going to be kind of concentrated over here. It's going to be sent into a sediment forebay, and the purpose of this is to kind of filter out a lot of sediments from the runoff, and then eventually over to this infiltration basin, which is designed to infiltrate the first inch of stormwater over the site, which is in conformance with Guilford's low impact design regulations. From a utility perspective, we're picking up all the public utilities that we can from Boston Post Road, with the exception of sewer. This island right here, which is going to be a landscape island, but this is where the septic system will go. Currently, there's a septic system for the existing building, which is right about over here, and there'll be a separate leaching field adjacent to that structure for the proposed structure. And that's pretty much it. And if you, to give you an idea of what the building will look like, we've met several times, I think 4 or 5 times now, with the Design Review Committee. This is the existing building right here. I think you've all seen pictures of what it looks like. It's going to be completely renovated. It's going to have a nice kind of earth, cool gray color to it. There's going to be a stone facade on it. I think it's going to really be cleaned up. It's going to look sharp. And so this is the existing current auto body shop. And to give you an idea of what the proposed structure is going to look like, this right here is kind of looking, this is going to face Boston Post Road. This is going to face interior to the site. It follows the general kind of architecture of the stone facade and kind of the gray earth tone colors.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
On your landscape sketch, you have trees obscuring the views of the trucks from Boston Post Road.
Yep.
In the past, we've had people present landscape sketches that they look great, they have trees there, and then when that gets built, those trees go away. What do you anticipate the size of those trees in the finished incarnation?
I could give you, so there was, it should be in your application, there was a cross-section done that shows kind of site distances that look into the building, and they show the trees. And I could pull that up for you. Yeah, I mean, fully grown, these trees, I would say 20 to 30 feet high.
Like 20 to 30-foot high trees in front of the trucks, that's become this contention.
Correct. And this was kind of on suggestion of the Design Review Committee and the landscape regulations for Guilford. So yeah, there will be some screening in front of the trees, spaced approximately 20 feet apart, kind of all the way up Tanner Marsh Road and all the way down Post Road East.
So those trees are currently spaced 20 feet.
Yeah, so the scale, this is 30 scale. Yeah, I would say approximately, it's on a landscape plan, but approximately 20 to 30 feet.
I would say this the landscape planting plan was extensively reviewed, and lots of discussion with the experts on the Design Review Committee, and the applicant and the Design Review Committee came up with an agreed plan for street tree planting, which is represented
Isn't there a
here.
landscape bond that goes along with it anyway?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So George, will this be presented to us in 2 weeks when we meet again?
If you want the details of the landscape plan, I'm sure that.
What I was going to ask was, will we have final approval from Design Review before we're asked to make a decision?
What I was going to suggest was if you resolve the issue of the vehicles display, and there's no requirement for site plan revision, therefore, this could go back to the Design Review Committee for their regular meeting in April, which would be the second Wednesday, and that this could then come back to the Planning and Zoning Commission on the third, at the third Wednesday in April, which I believe would be the 19th for the second public hearing. That would be one way of making sure that the Design Review Committee does sign off on this. But I can say without too much hesitation that the Design Review Committee agreed substantially with, and notwithstanding these several variables that might change, the Design Review Committee agreed that this is this is a recommended plan. They agreed with the landscaping, they agreed with the site plan, they agreed with the limited display, they agreed with the landscape, with the details of the landscape plan.
So what if we say yes beforehand, and they say, you know what, it really...
Well, as you know, they are advisory to you.
Yeah. So I'd like to get their advice, if they're
Yes.
advisory to us.
If
Can I ask you one more question? I don't know where, I don't know where this came from, but there's some pictures of some pretty nasty-looking U-Haul places. In them are U-Haul signs, really big signs. Could you show me on one of your drawings or elevations or whatever you have, what your signage would look like?
Yeah, sure. You can see them in all our elevations. So, for example, this is the proposed structure. This would be the graph.
What's the height of the U-Haul? What are the height of those letters?
So the height of the building is just under 40 feet.
Those are 5 or 6 feet high?
I could, approximately, I would say, if you look at the scale over here, I would say it's probably 3 feet high or so.
So 3 then illuminated, I'm sure.
I don't think, and U-Haul could speak to this, but they're not going to be backlit. There's going to be lighting on the building, but they're not going to be, glowing themselves.
So it won't look like all these?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
There's ones that light up that say U-Haul. That won't be the case?
He hasn't seen that.
Yeah, I could,
I can interject on that. I'm Pete Giorgino, U-Haul Company President of Connecticut. This is 95, this is the face of 95, I believe.
That faces US Route 1, I think.
Is it?
yeah, 95.
Another one.
And that's a good question. Are there going to be signage facing 95?
This is the signage on Boston.
Ah.
This is the side view coming out of the old establishment, looking over to your left. As you walk out, you'd see this. This is on Boston Post Road, and yes, these will be illuminated.
So they're illuminated, and how big are they?
I'm going to say they're probably around 30 inches.
3 feet, right? 3.
3 feet, yeah, it's about 2.5, 3 feet.
Yeah, and they're illuminated.
Yeah, those will be
And-
illuminated. Everything else would be just regular letters.
And there's
painted
signage on the back of the building facing Route 95?
Yes. They would be this.
And they're illuminated too, you said?
No,
I'm
these
sorry.
would just be foam letters.
Gotcha.
Would they be backlit, or would they just be?
They'll be lit probably from,
Yeah,
from
so
one
they're not
top.
going to be backlit, they will be lighting.
Security
facing it.
lighting.
Right.
would take care of
And I couldn't tell from the landscape sketch, but what do we know about the illumination of the parking lot at night? Is it going to be illuminated 24/7? Is it illuminated up until 11 o'clock at night? Does it look, what is the?
Most of the lights would be on timers.
Yep.
To go off obviously at a certain time, go on at a certain time. There'll be security lighting on the building and on the parking lot, obviously to protect our assets.
Right, so I guess I'm trying to, like, we had a situation with our friends over at Diversified, the rock pile, and they started off with no lighting, then it became illuminated, then it grew even bigger. And I drove past them at 3 in the morning on my way home from something, and it was supposed to go off at 1 o'clock, but it was actually lit till 3. No one, our people are crazy busy as it is, so they can't get up at 3 in the morning to see if they're lit. So is the U-Haul sign going to be lit through the night?
The U-Haul sign and most of our stores go off around 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So they don't stay on all night. The parking lot lights would be the new LED lighting.
And that's just a regular box, shadow box lighting?
They're very They're very nicely designed these days. And they're
And
LED.
zero light off the property.
Maybe we should get that for the next meeting, a photometric of the
Yeah,
site.
Like to see that.
And part of the application, there was a photometric plan. I don't have a blow-up of it.
We don't always get everything we
Gotcha.
get. A
So-
lot of times,
We gotta go review it.
we have to actually chase it down before we get it.
Sure.
All right. So the landscaping is going to be 20 to 30-foot high trees obscuring the view of your trucks that have all this.
Correct, and this is fully grown out,
Yeah,
it's
not
not
right
gonna be
away.
planted at 20, 30 feet high, I mean, probably more like 12 feet high when they're planted, but in maturity, yeah, I would say up to 30 feet high.
And they want them because then the canopy's high.
Right.
Can I have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
One of the things I know from personal experience, I'm worried about, has anybody talked with the state of Connecticut about the egress and entrance into the property with the trees where they are? Because the state of Connecticut requires a 200 or 300 foot U lane
Yep.
off a state road.
Yep, and that's a good question. We have been coordinating with the DOT, and I believe that letter was written. So we do meet all the requirements for it's the ISD, the intersection site distances. So there is a triangle that you draw up and down the road, and those trees will not obstruct any kind of view from coming in or leaving the site.
Okay?
If I could just follow up on one last issue that Dave touched on, but in particular in regard to the location, where's our site plan? The building location vis-à-vis the design review committee, and the building previously was closer. The building has been moved back at their request to the furthest possible point, 50 feet.
Right,
To
so.
meet your zoning requirements. So we have pushed it back. We can't go back any further because that would violate the regulation for the maximum building setback. And as Dave touched on earlier, the wetlands and the stormwater management systems proximate to that contribute to that being the location, the best possible location for the building.
And just so I can get my arms around it, the total number of storage units would be
580, I think,
580 units. And at any given time, and I know you can't know this for sure, but just ballpark me, assuming that you have 7 to 9 trucks at the front, is there any limit whatsoever on how many trucks you can park on the property at any time? Could you park 500 trucks there if you wanted?
Well, we have designated on a site plan, designated display spaces, designated parking spaces, designated.
Right, you have parking spaces for customers, but in the back you have 3 trucks showing on your sketch. Are you limiting yourselves to 3 trucks in the back, or will you be parking more than 3 trucks in the back and, what is that, 6 in the front in your sketch? And then 2 in the, like, what are we really looking at? Are we looking at hundreds of trucks or 10?
You're looking at, and I'll have Pete touch on, typically what's the number of trucks, but 7 parking spaces proposed in the front. There are parking spaces, kind of queuing areas for trucks in the rear. I think those spaces could accommodate, depending on, they come in various sizes, 3 to 6 trucks per lane, there's 4. Maybe have Pete touch on.
So if it came down to it, and we said, all right, you know what, you can have your 7 trucks in the front and your 5 trucks in the back, at no time shall you exceed 12 trucks on the property, you could live with that?
I'm not saying that. I was referring to in the front yards. I was going to have Pete touch on typically what.
Let's let Pete touch.
I'm afraid of this one. No. First of all, those pictures you have there are from Orange, Connecticut. That's our main office and headquarters with our shop and so on and so forth. So it's a crammed piece of property.
And to be fair, I've rented at different U-Haul facilities when I've needed trucks, and quite frankly, they're all not that great looking. But I have an open mind here, and that's why I'm asking you how many trucks, because the last one I went at, they had a small piece of property, but you could not have fit another truck on it.
Yeah, and there's no question. Our model now is something like this, the new building that we're proposing. We're building one now in Groton from the ground up, 5 stories. So they call them an L building. So we're changing our whole outlook on things, what we used to do 20 or 30 years ago. This building here that you're looking at in orange is probably 30-year, 40-year U-Haul building. So it's outgrown its use, and we're going to spacious centers.
So what do you think then? How many trucks do you think at the most? And you know, ballpark again.
We don't, right now, in the whole state of Connecticut, we have 280 to 400 trucks, and that's...
So could they all end up in Guilford? Like, so what's the total number of?
You know, I think max, this is somewhere in this property, maybe 20, 25 trucks at the most at peak season. You know, and we're talking, 10 of those would be small vans. So that, you know, they come in and out all the time as far as one-ways. So it's really tough to imagine any more than those 20 to 25 trucks. Mm-hmm. And they would be, you know, obviously that would include the 7 spots we have up here, or 8 spots. And then we'd have what they call a shunting lane. Shunting is a term used by the trains, where they'd have ready-to-go equipment, which the customer would get in and just leave the property. So, yeah, there'd be some parked back here. You know, you have 3 parked here, I believe, for shunting. They come in, they get ready, customer ready, and either park here or back here. But this would be the max, and it was the main concern of the designer board regarding how much equipment we put up front, because, as you know, if you go buy some of our, it is our main, this is our main advertising, is our trucks.
Right.
We wouldn't survive without our advertising on trucks.
And truthfully, you know, one of our jobs is to maintain the character of town, however you want to define that. And it's hard to put your finger on that sometimes. We're always chasing that elusive, what is the character of this town? But I'm pretty sure that the character of this town is not the U-Haul side of the truck. And so, you know, we're going to try and walk that line, a balance between maintaining character and honoring your right to have advertising in the form of trucks parked on the side of US Route 1.
And I'm the one that's worked extensively, I think George will tell you, with the designer board and coming up with the design of this building, which is not normally our colors. This is beyond anything that's in the U-Haul system right now. So if you've been by a U-Haul Center, it's orange stripes, it's diamonds, it's white, and it looks like a big box.
What are these going to be?
What are they going to be?
Yeah.
Grays.
All grays?
Three or four different colors of grays with a little green just to outline our entrance.
The other thing I had a question on is fuel storage. If you're servicing vehicles, are you going to have gasoline pumps and that sort of thing?
No, we don't. That's a thing of the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where do they go for service?
They go in orange. But for gas, the customers are responsible for filling up gas at the petrol station. Yeah, the main repair facility is in Orange, Connecticut, and that's one of the reasons why you see so many trucks in that location and where it's plugged up.
So the larger, or the new building that you're proposing, that's all interior storage?
Yes. Everything will be interior storage. It'll be climate controlled. 3 stories, I believe, in this, and I think it's 461 rooms. I think it's somewhere around 461.
And the other one has the bays.
Well, there's no bays. The entrance is to get into storage, you know, customer load and unload. This is cut in half. There was a collision shop in back of the sales floor, I guess it would be. So that would be storage and single level storage, climate controlled.
At one of the storage facilities in West Haven, near where I work, they have a security gate. You swipe a card, and then a gate goes up and you drive in. We don't have that here.
No, this is open. Nothing outside. People can't, you know, get into the storage. They can get in 24. Some of them can get in 24 hours, but it's a 6%.
So that's a good point. Will there? Obviously, you just said there will be people who will access this facility 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
So you're going to need lights on the whole time?
Well, there is lights, but inside, the building lights come on by sensors when somebody's in there. But there'll be security lighting on the building, there's no question about it. But there'll be low 75-watt LEDs on the buildings itself just for security. But this will be lit up, yes, as far as the customer, for security reasons. There are also TVs in the entrance as you're walking out. A customer can actually view a monitor to make sure that everything's safe out in the parking lot.
This is a very big project with a huge increase in the amount of usage of the property, with 600 storage units and room for 25 trucks and 24/7 operations.
Well, when I say that,
Compared to what?
you may get one or two.
Yeah, that was before my time. I wasn't here for that.
That was a big dealership.
When we say 24 hours, if you get 2 people a night to come in, we're talking a lot. If at all.
What's the current permeable, impermeable percentage versus what we're looking at here?
So I can give you those numbers specifically. So the current impervious coverage is just over 33%, and we'll be increasing that to just over 50%, so 54.9. And to give you an idea of where these pervious versus impervious areas are, this kind of existing building is kind of paved out to about approximately here, kind of around the front of the building, and this will be over here will be the added impervious space, and it's all within regulations and requirements.
What's the top height of the Mannix building at this time in feet?
The exact number, I could try. Yeah, I mean, so to give you an idea of scale, this would be 20 feet right here. So I would say around 15 feet or so.
Yeah, at the entryway where they've got that apex.
Correct.
And what's the proposed height of the new structure on the east side of the property?
The proposed height will be just under 40 feet. So I believe 40 feet is the maximum we're allowed to build in that zoning district, so we're just under 40 feet.
So it's 39.9.
Yeah, I would say 39.9, 39 and 10 inches.
And that's 3 stories of storage units.
Correct.
Is there any structure on the east side of the property at all currently?
No, there will be an emergency egress, so there'll be stairs. It might be easiest to see here. But, so this is really the only structure. There'll be stairs that will go up to 3 stories on the side. But really, that's it.
And no repair work, no maintenance on the vehicles whatsoever?
No, and I think Pete could speak to this, but it's all done in orange. So this is really just where they rent the vehicles. If any kind of repair or anything needs to happen, that goes to Orange, and that's their kind of maintenance facility.
So you wouldn't be averse to a maximum of 25 U-Haul trucks on the site at a time?
I don't see us going over that, but I could not say until I would check with corporate.
That would be something in our next
Is the-
meeting I'd like to
yeah,
know.
that sort of-
That's something to know that.
Yeah, no more than 20 to 25 is what you're expecting.
Isn't there some kind of, in zoning, isn't there some kind of calculation that we do? I mean, there's a couple auto, but there's,
Special permit application.
well, but there are other automobile repair shops close to this one, and they have lots of cars.
Right across the street.
What is the question? The maximum number of vehicles?
Isn't there something in the code about how many vehicles you can allow?
Not that I know of.
Mr. Shortino just was saying that, that he doesn't expect there ever to exceed 25 vehicles at a time.
Yeah, that's rental vehicles. That would not include customer.
Right, rental vehicles.
What's right across the street from that?
That's at,
Guilford Automotive.
Okay. They have a lot of cars right out front.
They have cars for sale.
They do. They have cars for sale.
We'll check on that, we'll be prepared to address that issue next meeting.
Yeah, the number of vehicles that you're expecting to, the maximum number of vehicles that you're hoping to have on the site for rental at any one time.
Reggie, I have a question for you since you brought that up. I'm just thinking in my mind. There's a, I don't know the name of it. It used to be a Sunoco gas station, and it has like residential and the stairway going up the side, but it has cars all over the place. And I remember one time you said you went over there for an enforcement, or there were unregistered cars. There was cars piled up. What's the one up to, not the Shell gas station on the corner of Goose Lane, but coming back one more lot?
I know the,
DNS Auto.
Yes.
And so what I'm trying to avoid is a situation like that where it's out of control cars. Well, yeah, and so I want to try and give some sort of structure to what you can do.
Well, I think you should think about Enterprise Rent-A-Car. They've been in town, I don't know, 8, 9 years now.
I know where that is too.
Yeah, you don't even know they're there.
DNS is an automotive repair facility, so there are a lot of cars there that either are awaiting repair, or more likely, they've been repaired and they're still sitting there, or they're sort of partially repaired. Obviously, this business, as Mr. Scortino has pointed out, every truck or van that's on the property is one that they're not renting, and their business is to rent them, so they don't want to have a huge number of vehicles just sitting there. They want to have the display vehicles, but the other vehicles, they want to, I presume, rent them.
Well, George, when you're running a business like that and you have stock that you have to, that's not out for rent, you have to put it somewhere. And so sometimes in their satellite facilities, they may use them as a place to hold vehicles until they can move them somewhere that they can get rented.
Maximum number would be a good idea. It's not always the easiest thing to enforce, as Reggie pointed out with DNS, but it is a different type of business than automotive repair.
One of the things, and that's where the general public can help, is if we put a regulation in place that says no more than 24 at any given time. Everybody drives past all the time. It's not hard. If I were driving by, I would do a mental calculation and say, oh, they got 30 trucks, so let me send a note to Reggie so you can get a fine. So, you know, it's certainly something we could do. And one other thing I wanted to ask, and I guess I should ask you, if for any reason we didn't want to have 3-foot-high lit-up letters that say U-Hall, could you live with smaller letters, or is that corporate, they have to make that decision?
I think with the size of the building, I don't think from what we normally put up at a U-Haul store, usually on a pylon sign 40 foot up in the air with larger letters. So this is pretty much scaled down to what we normally do.
But if we wanted to scale it down even more.
What's wrong with that? I'm asking. It's 40 feet.
That's 40 feet up in the air, and it's 3 foot high. They could
It's
land,
3 feet high.
You could land planes using that as a guide.
No, come on.
That's okay. I mean, that's why we all have different.
It's going to go off after what time?
Usually about 10:30, 11 o'clock to go.
And that's why we're allowed to have different opinions. I certainly respect your opinion.
It's also set back 50 feet from the road. As far as the intensity of the site and number of cars, the activity on this site will be a substantial reduction from what it was during the days of Mannix Motors. There were hundreds of vehicles on the site. So as far as number of vehicles on the site and number of vehicles proposed in the setback area would be a substantial reduction in the existing nonconformity.
Just to be lighthearted a little bit, the more trucks that come into Guilford U-Haul, that means more people are coming into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Although, you know, just a thought, just throwing it out.
Okay, you guys done?
Unless there's no
All
further
right,
questions.
before we get to questions from the audience, we do have, I think there's one more letter here, it's a long letter.
I think the writer's here, he may
Would you-
want to present it.
Would you guys like to read this, Milanos?
Well, we'd want a copy of it. You don't have to.
Here you go. Right here. Step right up.
Sir, do you want to, would you like to read the letter?
You got that today.
You're more than welcome, come on up. They're done with their presentation, so come on up.
Let me just note that we just got this letter today. We did send it out to the commission members. We also sent, I believe, sent a copy to Pete today, so that's why Mr. Pellegrino hasn't seen it yet, I believe. Okay.
My name's...
Put your name and address on.
Sure. My name is David Milano. I live at 58 River Street in Guilford. And as I mentioned, I have a letter that I would like to read. It's an abridged version of the letter that we emailed to the commission today. I also have some full copies of the letter I can pass out when I'm finished. Members of the commission, my family members and I are owners of a residentially zoned property on the south side of Boston Post Road, approximately 50 yards away from the proposed project by U-Haul under your consideration. In addition to our concern regarding the value of our nearby property, we own retail and office buildings in Guilford. We own a self-storage business located adjacent to the railroad tracks in Madison. And personally, we are residents and property owners in Guilford driving by 301 Boston Post Road every day. So we have several reasons to be interested in this proposal. Based on all of these interests, we have been closely following the proposed U-Haul project. We have submitted a letter to the Commission as drafted by our attorney, as mentioned. This letter outlines 3 reasons why the U-Haul application should not be approved by the Commission. 1, Section 273-120 does not describe the proposed use. 2, the number of proposed U-Haul vehicles is an expansion of a non-conforming use that was abandoned. And 3, the proposal does not meet the standards governing special permits. As mentioned, this letter is very detailed, so I will not recite it in its entirety, but I instead would like to highlight the following points. Number 1, and this is an important one, it seems that Section 273-120 does not define U-Haul's proposed use. Item 26 defines the use of, quote, retail sales of new or used motor vehicles, unquote. Accessory to this use is the rental thereof. The rental function is not the use. The rental function is accessory to the retail sales use. The proposed U-Haul function is not proposed as accessory to retail sales as this section provides, but is accessory or primary to the self-storage facility. Given this disconnect, we fail to see under what section of the regulations this use is even possible. Number 2, U-Haul is proposing to park its vehicles closer than the allowable 50 feet to the property lines along Route 1 and Tanner Marsh Road as a purported continuation of a non-conforming use. There is clear evidence that this non-conforming use is not currently approved and thus cannot possibly be carried forward. In a memo dated October 17, 2016, George Kroll writes that the currently approved 2010 site plan, quote, did not show any such display area, unquote, as is being sought currently. In a memo to U-Haul, Reggie has acknowledged the need for enforcement action pending the outcome of the current application. We submit the current proceedings do not resolve the issue. One look at the state of U-Haul's current operations underscores how important it is to enforce this buffer from the property line. Point number 3, the criteria for a special permit have not been met. The following reasons support denial of the application. Section A of the special permit criteria, which states in part, quote, the location, type, character, and size of the use and of any building or other structure in connection therewith shall be in harmony with and conform to the appropriate and orderly development of the town and the neighborhood, unquote. In conjunction with this, plans must meet the Route 1 East design criteria. This includes that Boston Post Road must remain unique and protected from, quote, overscaled structures and excessive car-oriented frontages, unquote, for the benefit of the town, its residents, and the economy as well. The proposed 3-story, 40-foot-tall, 50,000 square foot building by U-Haul with 24-hour lighting and signage seems overscaled in comparison to the surrounding neighborhood, and the truck rentals and application for parking and permanent display vehicles along Route 1 qualifies as an excessive car-oriented frontage. Section D of the special permit criteria, which states in part that a use shall be conducted, quote, in a manner that will not be detrimental to the neighborhood or adjacent lots, unquote. In addition to the aforementioned proposed encroachment into the 50-foot setbacks, U-Haul is also proposing a permanent truck display area that we spoke about within this buffer. It's noted as display area clearly on the plans. In the design review minutes, U-Haul states that 7 vehicles would remain in place along the street at all times, quote, because they were for display/advertising, unquote. That's from the minutes. In fact, Section 273-58 of the zoning code prohibits signs on trucks and vans when they are being used mainly for advertising. This was actually enforced against one of our tenants in the past, and rightly so, as nobody wants to see mobile billboards serve as a loophole to the signage regulations in town. Section E of the special permit criteria, which states that, quote, the architectural design and style of all buildings and other structures to be erected on the lot shall be such as not to conflict with the architectural design and style of adjacent properties, unquote. Design Review has not recommended this project for approval. Again, we question the compatibility of a 40-foot tall, 50,000 square foot building with 3 floors of 24-hour lighting with the surrounding area. Projects that make our town feel more like the Post Road corridors in Milford and Orange are inconsistent with the purpose of the guidelines and the requirements of the regulations. Thank you for taking the time to read our letter, review the attached photos, and consider our concerns during the Commission's consideration of the proposed project. For all the foregoing reasons, we urge the Commission to deny the application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had one quick question. Sure. So in number 1, I don't mean to take up any time because I'm sure a lot of people want to comment, but on your first reason why this application should not be approved, maybe I fully don't understand it. Are you suggesting that it is impossible in the town of Guilford to have any rental automobile facility? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, so,
or your attorney?
Yeah, let me step back. I'm not an attorney, first of
no,
all.
I understand that. Or your
counsel
attorney. Yeah.
could not be here, but
Yeah.
our council's review of the regulations suggests that, you know, in this zone, in section 273-120, item 26, the use is not allowed. I can't speak for the rest of the regulations.
That same question, Mr. Pellegrino, we get an opportunity next, because I would like his opinion as a lawyer to interpret that.
Well, I'm sure that he'll have time to
application.
review this and give us a response in a week
Yeah,
or 3 weeks. 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll wait on that. Okay, sir, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
full copy. Oh, okay. That's a different letter.
The regulations,
It is.
it's like his lawyer saying, if you read that section, it says clearly and rental.
It's kind of a lot of this.
Doesn't say accessory.
Yeah. I want to make sure Chuck has everything.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
It's like
idea.
almost 100%.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I hope not, but.
Is that the one you just read?
No, this is the full one.
Sorry, we got.
I gave mine.
Unusual script, we actually just read just now.
Oh, yeah. That was
You were just
an abridged
paraphrasing.
version. This is the
Okay.
full version.
Yeah, we got the full version.
All right, so he's made his testimony. I think we've asked our questions we want to ask for right now.
I got one more question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but, yeah, I'll make it quick, and it's to the gentleman who runs the U-Haul thing. Are there any regulations that you have when you rent to someone as to what's actually in the storage unit?
Yeah, we don't allow any valuables.
How do you police that?
By monitors, obviously we don't catch everything, but we do have monitors in the showroom, the sales counter to watch people move it into their storage units.
Right, but sometimes and the only reason I say this is that we have a storage facility in a environmentally sensitive area down by the water, and in fact, they actually have that same regulation, but during their upgrade, it turned out that there were some hazardous materials stored. So no flammables, but there could be other hazardous that's not, and I'm talking about caustics or acids or...
I'm sure there could be. I've been with you all 25 years, I haven't seen anything yet.
But potentially it could be.
Potentially.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, questions from the audience before yeas and nays? Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I just have a concern about...
Could you just,
Oh,
give-
Kathy, 10 Horseshoe Road. I live in Sunrise.
Okay,
I'm
fine.
a neighbor, but right
okay,
nearby. I'm concerned about the exterior lighting, 24/7. If this is open 24 hours a day, I'm thinking there has to be a significant amount of exterior lighting. I find it hard to believe that the U-Haul letters are going to be turned off at 10:30 if it's open 24 hours.
First of all, we're not open 24 hours.
Oh, I thought you said you were. I beg your
Only
pardon.
there's 24-hour access to individual customers. And that, if that goes 5-6% of the total facility, that would be it. But the sign doesn't stay lit. Trust me, it goes off.
Okay, and how many light poles do you have with
It might be
big
helpful,
LED?
it might be helpful at the next meeting for a larger, a
Yeah.
full map with the light, because we'll be able to see, and
Yeah.
the neighbor, and it might alleviate or make you more concerned. But I think that you'd be surprised, you know.
That was one of the concerns of the design committee, how the lighting was going to be.
Yeah, just to say that the details of the landscape plan and the lighting plan were presented and discussed in detail by design review. We didn't see that presentation.
We'll bring the lighting plan, full detail for you, and we'll address lighting as to timing, et cetera, which lights stay on, which lights go off, where the security lighting is on the building.
Questions?
Excuse me, can I just say one thing? When you do that, can you also give us the calculation of the signage? Because there seems to be a concern, and I know that each parcel, and you have 2 parcels, are allowed 75 square feet of signage.
Is that on all sides of the building? Like if you
It doesn't-
So you could have 35. and
Total.
35.
Right.
Questions?
Are you going to be washing vehicles? Jim?
No,
So
we
you don't
don't
wash
do
vehicles
washing
even?
any longer because of the environment.
So if somebody returns a filthy, dirty vehicle, it goes back out that way?
Pretty much, we clean the inside. We don't do anything with the outside of the trucks anymore. That's too hard to believe.
Okay. I just have concern about the size of the building. It's not in keeping with the neighborhood at all. And I really hope you guys consider that in your process.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi, Nancy Brown.
Okay.
I live at 1092 Hoople Road in North Guilford, so I'm not a neighbor. Fifth generation Guilfordites, actually could be being too close to town meeting, but it doesn't. The reason I'm here is that I haven't made up my mind one way or the other. So what I did was, I drove down to Orange to look at the U-Haul facility down there that Pete mentioned. And I drove through different car dealerships in Brantford to look at them. I've noticed that perhaps, for lack of a better word, pride of ownership, there's a big difference between having a car dealership with cars that are clean and nice and sitting there lovely, and what I saw down in Orange. And as far as cleaning them, I mean, there really was a mess. I then also drove to Brantford, where they have a 3-story storage facility that's temperature controlled. And there was a really nice lady in there, and she gave me a tour of it, and it was lovely. It was very nice. They had the elevators that are almost fixed, so you could bring all your junk in, and it didn't look a mess, and it was very nice. So my concern is this. For many generations, boards like this in the past have done whatever they needed to do to protect Guilford, to make sure that Guilford gets to stay Guilford. I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I really am depending on all of you to make sure that Guilford gets to stay Guilford, and that the neighbors around there aren't suddenly thrown into bright lights and cars coming and going all the time. And really, in comparison to Orange, which Pete says it's not going to be anything like that, are really a junkyard. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want a question or a comment now?
Just a comment, Lori Kramer, 1 Cornfield Lane. I moved from the Milford Orange area in the middle 80s to come to Guilford. This type of development does not belong in Guilford. I live in Sunrise. I feel our neighborhood will be affected by this. I feel like exit 59 traffic from the highway will be affected by it. It's already difficult enough at rush hour to get in and out of that area. And I just think the aesthetics of this don't belong in Guilford.
Ma'am, do you think that your property values will decrease if this is put in? Yeah.
Actually, for the first time in my adult life, I'm talking about leaving Guilford. This kind of development is the reason.
And so you feel like your property value will
Absolutely.
decrease? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Brian, does economic development?
Until the next meeting.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, would someone move that we?
So moved.
Second.
Wait. When is the next?
We had questions, but we didn't have,
We don't have people, that was just questions.
I thought he did. I said is if they have any questions or comments.
Is there anyone who believes that their property value will increase as a result of this development?
It's not a fair question, Walt.
Is there anyone who feels
I mean,
their property value
only a
will
real estate agent
decrease
can
as a
have-
result of this development?
Walt, it's not proper.
Mr. Chairman, it is proper,
No,
because
it's not.
they can come up
Experts
and
make
tell us that.
decisions on what property values do.
I would suggest you,
So, wait, hold on, Tom, this is an important question. You want to make sure that nobody speaks to the question of whether their property value.
But you're asking them that specific question. I'm saying, if you want to ask the question, you could ask the attorney for the people that are trying to do this project to please provide a real estate evaluation as to whether property values are going to go up or down.
And the only person I should ask is the applicant.
Well, anybody else, if you ask me, I'm just making a judgment. I'm not talking about reality.
Yeah, we answer to professional opinions.
Professional opinions are really great.
Yes.
So maybe a solution might be if the applicant is going to have a realtor or someone come in and make a statement as to whether or not, perhaps some of the residents who are here might approach a realtor that they know and get some sort of letter saying, if this U-Haul is allowed to be built, then your house, which is worth $350,000, will only be worth $50,000. So if each one loses $50,000, then this board can say, all right, there's 100 homes in the area, 50,000 times 100, that means the town is going to devalue $5 million if we allow this. So that might be a fair solution to having licensed professionals make a valid statement.
That will hold up in court.
Because we're probably going to make a decision, it's probably going to get appealed, but it's okay. That's why we do every time we're here. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we...
I think that we should continue to April 19, because I don't think that we have enough time to review this.
April 19th will give us time to get all this material to Chuck Andrus.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
assuming
we got those.
Excuse me, I'm assuming you're going to want Chuck to weigh in on this in more detail and review the Milano
Will then
materials.
Design review, will they meet by then?
Design review will meet on the second Wednesday in April, which is the 12th, I believe, so they will have a chance.
Something from them, that's
They'll have a
good.
chance to.
So I make a motion that we
review it.
table this until the April 15th meeting, or April.
Well, not table it, we're just.
Continue the hearing to April 19th.
To the second hearing.
Move to continue to April 19.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, April 19th it is.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the revised agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Go
All
with
right,
it, sir.
first decision is the Chabad.
I make a motion.
All right,
Second.
Man, I gotta read it. Voted that the Guilford's Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit application for Chabad Village of the Shoreline at 2710 Boston Post Road, map 83, lot 42, 24B for the place of worship as shown on the Shabbat of the Shoreline. 5 sheets dated November 11, 2016, revised to 3/8/17, prepared by Harkin Engineering LLC. This application is approved with the following conditions: that grading utility modifications specific to the location of the septic system shall be performed as noted in the engineered site plan prepared by Harkin Engineering dated November 11, 2017, revised to 3/8/17, that the zoning enforcement officer be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any work, that the limits of 100-foot wetlands review area located adjacent to proposed parking area be staked out by a licensed surveyor and construction fence to be installed along the stakes. If work needs to be conducted within the wetlands review area, an application should be filed with the Wetlands Commission. This application is approved based on finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective March 24th, 2017, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I wasn't here, but I did review the video, so I'm going to.
okay.
Good.
Comments?
I think that they comply completely with the fire code, and having the assistant fire chief come out and say that, I think is sufficient for me.
I just want to make sure that we didn't come up with any additional conditions of any kind in this meeting while we were
Yeah, I was
while we were
concerned about
bouncing it
that, too.
around.
Mike Harkins was talking about the fence, but it's on item number 3.
Did we add anything in this meeting at all? Okay. I'm not concerned about the driveway. I think they've alleviated our driveway.
Well, I'm not concerned about the driveway, but I appreciate Commissioner Brown's comments and concerns. I think that while some areas may be 9 feet, some might be 15 feet, in real-world application with a fire truck coming down, I would pull off to the side of the road, let them go past, and then I would pull out. So I think Commissioner Brown is correct in what he's saying, but also that in a real-world application, I think that the driveway's okay. I think that the area, the houses are far enough away. I think that the use of the area is so light, there's so few people that are going to be there. I can't think of a single reason to say no.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think that if we're not relying on our staff or the professionals, same thing, we get a police commissioner to look at something, and we got the assistant fire chief to look at it. I think we have to take that into consideration. So.
Any other comments?
I think you should call the vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Al? Opposed?
Abstaining.
Abstain?
Okay, so it's 6 and 1 abstention. Next.
We have Gregory L. Wright.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a mandatory referral for the Board of shoot. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit for an accessory apartment for Gregory Wright at 67 Half Mile Road, map 80, lot 115, as shown on an application dated January 30, 2017. This application is approved based upon a finding that with the variance granted, it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective on March 24th, 2017.
Second.
Comment is that there was plenty of parking. It seemed like plenty of room for cars and stuff, so.
There's never been a more clear-cut application. This is
presentation.
exactly what we want and hope for.
All right.
And there's plenty of space there. We're not overcrowding something.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
7. Okay. Next one up, what do I do on my agenda?
Is that it?
No.
We have the
Lander.
Okay. Take 5? Take 3.
It's going to a public hearing, right? The second one.
Okay, we're moving on. We're all back except for one member who will return. We're moving on to applications to be received. Here he comes. Special permits, Paul and Cassette Hyman, 103 Pond View Circle, map 102, lot 90, lot 9-21, zone R8, special permit application for an accessory apartment in the basement of an existing house. Receive and set public hearing date for 4/5 to be continued to 4/19.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Coastal Area Management Site Plan, VFW Post 7666, 57 Mill Road, map 46, lot 62, zone R5. Coastal Area Management application replacing a part of an existing building and installing a new parking lot. This is a receive.
Move to receive.
Second.
All in favor, say it.
Set public hearing for, what, is it 19?
Move
Or
to
fifth.
receive and set the public hearing for
April 19th?
419.
April 5.
April 5.
April 5.
Okay, for April 5. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we have a mandatory referral.
I'll read it into the record. Dear Tom, in accordance with Connecticut General Statute 8-24, I am forwarding the following request to you for your consideration at your March 15th, 2017 meeting, mandatory referral. Consider that and take possible action on conservation easement for Lot 2 of the Andrew Ridge subdivision, Durham Road 77, located on Assessor's Map 101, Lot 54. Thank you for consideration on this matter, Joseph Mazza. And I don't think that there's anything else.
Is this to add a conservation
You have
easement or to
something?
take
Oh,
one
you have the
away?
motion, yeah.
The motion. Voted, the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a mandatory referral for the from the Board of Selectmen dated March 6, 2017, regarding a conservation easement for Lot 2 of the Andrews Ridge subdivision. Referral is approved based on the finding that it was a requirement of the Andrew Ridge subdivision approval and is in conformance with the Plan of Conservation and Development.
Second.
Any comments?
Can we discuss this for just a second?
This was evidently, it was a conservation easement that was a condition of approval when the subdivision was approved about 10 years ago or so. And the conservation easement was never actually conveyed to the town, which it has to be under our current procedures, and that means it has to be accepted by the Board of Selectmen and also by a town meeting. So before the lot can be sold, so that's why this is coming up now. The developer kind of forgot to do it way back.
Done 10 years ago?
He just didn't do it for some reason, forgot about it.
I'll tell you this much, I've walked it, and all the little signs are up on the trees, so. It says, yeah, Town of Guilford Conservation Easement with the little bird.
Oh, you're thinking about buying that lot?
Is that you?
It's me.
Okay. So it evidently, it didn't get done, but
Recuse
it
yourself here.
has to be done.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. He's
I
recusing.
recused.
There we go.
Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you vote? Yeah. So we got 6 and 1. One,
Somebody vote against?
No.
7 and,
Frank
Frank is abstaining.
Nothing in a recusal.
All settled?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we pay Shore Publishing $176.69.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the meeting minutes from the meeting that we had on March the 1st. They appear substantially correct, and I make a motion that we approve them.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, inasmuch as we have no other business before us, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Aye.
Aye.
Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Noches.
Hasta mañana.